Back on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, asking you to head to youtube.com, find Locked On Sports Atlanta in your search browser. When you get there, hit that subscribe button to our page, leave us a comment. Of course, we're free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms that include Spotify, Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review and then give me a follow on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. You know, as camp opens today for the Atlanta Falcons, and we just got done talking to D. Orlando Ledbetter. You know, one of the things that the Falcons have to greatly improve on is getting more touchdowns and especially getting the red zone offense cranked up. And that's going to start with Kyle Pitts. Now, was looking at some stats earlier today and looking at red zone target numbers and things like that. Kyle Pitts last year in 17 games had 14 red zone targets. That puts him in a group of guys that includes Allen Lazard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dalton Schultz, Zeke Elliott is in that group as well. Not exactly top flight company for a guy that we expect to be a unicorn or a minion or a troll or a Shrek or whatever term he's supposed to be in this, that, and the other. What's even more concerning is the fact that of the 14 red zone targets that he had last year, he only had 4 completions on that. So 4 completions, 4 catches in 14 attempts. Only one player in the NFL with at least 14 red zone attempts had a lower catch percentage than what Pitts did. And obviously Pitts ended up with only 1 touchdown during the regular season. Now, I know, because again, we can't do this. Well, it's not all Pitts' fault. It's Matt Ryan. Okay, all right. Matt Ryan, just so you understand, was one of only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL last year that did not have an interception in the red zone. He had 18 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So I don't know how many bad balls he could have thrown if the guy never got a play picked off. Must not have put in too much jeopardy to not have an intercept. But then again, we're past all that, right? Well, no, a lot of you aren't. But anyway, we're past all that. So when looking at red zone target numbers, listen to some of these numbers. Cooper Kupp, 37 targets last year, 13 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, 34 targets, 10 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 27 targets, 10 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 23 attempts, 7 touchdowns. Hunter Renfrow, 23 attempts, 9 touchdowns. How about a tight end? Okay, Mark Andrews, 20 targets, 12 catches, 9 touchdowns. Can I tell you, that's where Kyle Pitts has to be this year. And I don't want to hear excuses about double teams or quarterback or what have you. Again, you have to find a way to take advantage. If you're going to tell me that we drafted a guy at number 4 overall and number 8 or whatever it was last year for Drake London, you have got to offensively find a way that when you get in the red zone to take advantage of those guys and get completions and get touchdowns. It's not going to be acceptable to tell me about this offense muddling and fuddling around, and he's got 14 red zone attempts in a 17-game season. Less than 1 red zone attempt. And again, I'm not going to tell you it's all on Pitts, but 4 attempts and 4 catches in 14 attempts, he has to have some responsibility. Yes, Matt probably gets some. Yes, Arthur Smith and his play calling gets some. I get all that. But please don't sell me on the idea that he's blameless. If he's a unicorn or a minion or a Shrek or, one of the 7 dwarfs or whatever, this thing is that we're fascinated by. And it's why I've said last year, I don't think his impact was nearly as big as what some people thought. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second, but want to talk to you about my friends sponsoring the show today. As always, Coffee AM. My folks over at coffeeam.com. Listen, they are the best small batch roaster of coffee in America and located right here in the state of Georgia, up in Canton. Online company, coffeeam.com. Check out their wide range of products, coffees, teas, gift sets. Everything is there at coffeeam.com. You like organic coffees, you like flavored coffees, you like darker roast, light roast, you want ground, you want K-Cups. They got everything available to you. And here's what we've got going on for you today, because I love these folks so much. Coffeeam.com. You go to coffeeam.com/locked on. coffeeam.com/locked-on. And here's what we got. Put together your order, coffees, teas, gift sets, whatever it is you got going on there. And when you put that first order together and you head to the checkout, in the coupon code, put in locked on, LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. Put locked on as the coupon code at checkout and get 15% off that first order of coffees, teas, and gift sets. Yes, 15% off that first order you put together at coffeeam.com. Love these folks. Best small batch coffee roaster in America. I drink multiple cups of this stuff every single day. Love our folks at Coffee AM, but head there now. Take 15% off that first order by using the coupon code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. So, look, when you look at those numbers just in general, and look, Pitts led the Falcons last year in red zone attempts. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, it's a pretty frightening list when you look at Pitts had 14 attempts, Gage had 13 attempts, Patterson had 12 attempts, Ridley, for not playing at all, had 10 attempts, right? Zacchaeus 8, Hurst 7, Davis 5, Tajay Sharp, Kadri Ollison, Lee Smith, Christian Blake. Good God Almighty, that list makes me want to throw up in my mouth just going through all of it. So you want to put your finger on a number that's got to change and has to improve. Number 1, red zone targets for Kyle Pitts. Number 2, red zone catches off those targets. Number 3, most importantly, is touchdowns. Think about the fact that Cooper Kupp had almost as many touchdowns in the red zone last year as Pitts had targets. Kupp had 13 touchdowns. Pitts had 14 targets. None of that is acceptable. And I don't want to hear about being new, and I don't want to hear about adjust. You have to take the weapons that you have and find a way to maximize it. And let me ask you a question. You think Kupp and Diggs and Adams and Andrews and guys like that and Mike Evans had 18 targets with 9 touchdowns. Half the time they throw to Evans in the red zone, it's a touchdown. That's what our guys have to be. This is where we talk about, if you're going to tell me that we drafted all these pass catchers and all this kind of stuff, they have to make some hay. And I don't want to hear about Ritter and Mariota and everybody like that, because y'all didn't want Matt Ryan. So if you don't want Matt Ryan, this is what you're left with at quarterback. But you have to take advantage. You have to start figuring out how to maximize these guys down in the red zone. I don't care what your quarterback is. I don't care what your other target. This is where coaching is going to come into full force. This is where either coaching and Kyle Pitts can figure it out together, or we got problems, or we got some issues. Because 14 targets, not acceptable. 4 catches in 14 targets, not acceptable. 1 touchdown in 14 targets, not acceptable. And again, Pitts, coaches, quarterback, everything has to come together with it. So I can tell you, I'm going to be watching that number to see where he's at with all this. Because again, if you're going to sell me on unicorns, Shrek, Minions, whatever it is that you're trying to sell me on with it, the numbers have to be there. And there are plenty of examples. You want to be thought of as one of the top guys in the league? That's the number that gets you there. With all due respect to your catches and everything else, and your yards per attempt and your DVOAs, or, go to the DMZ or TMZ or whatever nonsensical numbers you want. I'll break down. There's a reason why you want to talk about Kupps, Diggs, Adams, guys like Mark Andrews. You want to know why they're elite players? Because their red zone production is off the charts. 13 touchdowns in the red zone, 9 touchdowns and 18 receptions. Andrews was 9 touchdowns on 20 attempts, 60% catch percentage, 96 yards, 9 touchdowns. 8 for 11 inside the 10-yard line with 7 touchdowns. 8 for 11 with 7 touchdowns. That's where Kyle Pitts has to live. That's where he and the coaches and everybody has to get it figured out. All right, we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen. Make A to Z with Mark Zinno your second listen every day. Mark is back talking all things Atlanta sports. He is free and available on our YouTube page at Locked On Sports Atlanta, and of course on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Give us a 5-star review there. Also, leave us a comment on our YouTube page, and of course, give me a follow on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. We'll be back with you tomorrow. It's been Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.